What should some of us in our late 30s, new at this, be thinking about in terms of safety? From Cambridge Corporation. Good question. I think that safety is something we should all be concerned with. Obviously, regardless of age. But when you get older, your recovery time's a lot slower, no doubt. I think that you might want to stay away from the animals. If competition is not your core interest here, if you're looking at just like longevity and like fitness and self-defense and having a good time, you might want to stay clear from the animals. Depending on what kind of gym you're in, your instructor is the one who chooses who you're going to roll with. Well, if that's the case, right, if you can't choose your own training partners. In my gym, I don't let my students choose their training partners. I pair them up, right? But if that's the case at your place, what you want to do is you want to set your instructor aside and explain to him, like, hey, man, that guy right there, he goes at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm not interested in that. That would be my advice. I don't think that we can, avoid injuries completely. But, we can minimize the risk. So my advice would be, like, just try to stay clear from people who are just too rough. And, they're looking for different things, right? They're looking for competition. They're not necessarily looking at, your safety. So choose your training partners wisely. That would be my advice. All right, Dean Albrecht would be interested in your thoughts on competitions and winning between a few different competitions. Interested in your thoughts on competitions and winning between a few different competitions. If you win the Pan Am, are you world? If you win Pan Am, are you world champ? It depends on your ambition, Dean. Like that's a very good question. I think a lot of people, they get caught up with like one thing in their head, or they want to take everything. With me personally, it was always like I had to win the biggest one in the gi, which was IBJJF World, right? And then I had to win the biggest one in no-gi, and then I wanted to win the biggest one in MMA, which was UFC. Like, if I prove that I can do the biggest one in any particular area, to me, like the other ones are just less. It's smaller, right? Other people, they feel they have to win the Pan Ams 10 times. It's just a matter of personal ambition. But to me, it was always like, been there, done that. Like move on to the next one. But you just got to ask yourself honestly what sort of ambition you have, and like what is it? Where is it that you would be sitting and you would see yourself completely content? Like, where is it that I would be able to look myself in the mirror and say, I've done it, I've been successful, I'm ready to move forward, right? Like, what's next? Like, you have to ask yourself in all honesty and just go from that. I think that's the best answer I can give you. But I know you've won a lot. You have like so many tournaments under your belt. I would, if I were you, I'm not sure if you compete in the Masters Worlds, but to me, that's the big one in the Masters division, right? Masters Worlds in Vegas in August. You can come train with us if you want. You're more than welcome. All you guys, really. And I think that would be a good test, a good test of your skill, because that's like best guys in the world in your division. If you win your favorite Dilek Eva Pass. Okay, we'll do the Dilek Eva Pass in a second. If you win worlds, are you the world champ? That's Dean's question. Yes, in your division, of course, like adult black belt is where it's at, But if you win Masters 3 purple belt, you call yourself a world champion, but I would always like add the caveat like Masters 3 purple, like not, because it's not the same. There's clearly discrepancy in skill level. There's a part of me that wishes that those titles only exist in black belt. I think that would be the correct way of approaching it. That way there's only one world champion and not like one in every belt in every weight class or every age division. But it does get confusing for people who are not practitioners, even though it doesn't mean it's easy. You're going to go in your bracket, purple belt Masters 3, and there's 100 people in the bracket. Right? Okay, I'm going to, guys, I'm going to try to answer all questions here. I will show my favorite Dilek Eva pass. Okay, that's a very good question. It's from Billy. So Dilek Eva passing is a huge category, Max. So I'll start with some fundamentals on the Dilek Eva. I want to see if I can make sure we get our feet. For my face won't even in there, but you'll be able to see this is turned around. There we go. Okay. So obviously avoiding is the best one. No one likes that answer, but it's the best one. So if I know he wants that foot, I'm always going to give the opposite, because chances are he's not as coordinated on the other side, right? I'm assuming I've made a mistake, right? He's got that pocket grip. What the Dilek Eva really is, you guys got to understand, just open this just a little bit more. What the Dilek Eva is, it's an attempt at preventing me from squaring up with him. Like if he gets that Dilek Eva all the way through, I can't really square up with him, and I'm forced to expose my back, right? So anytime he's going for Dilek Eva, the first thing I want to do is I want to pull my foot out. So see, I got my foot pointed out. That means my kneecap is pointing at you guys. So when Max tries to get either the short or the long Dilek Eva hook, it doesn't matter. So he can barely get it in, and I follow because as he cuts that corner, I have to make sure I follow. So just by opening my knee, I end up like a horse stance here when I do this. By having my knee pointed out, I limit how Max can attack that Dilek Eva. Now, if I stay square with him in a knee slice, that's exactly what he wants. So part of the problem is that we can't even stop ourselves from always pointing the knee in this direction. And if he is a good Dilek Eva player, that's exactly what he's looking for. That's the one that gives him all the options. So squaring up with him is the first one. But if I square up with him too much, I start exposing myself on the other leg. Next thing you know, I'm getting swept because he's got other options. So one thing I like to do whenever, other than blocking this leg, I always like to control this leg. So this is a very good opportunity for the leg drag. So the leg drag is one answer to this question, not the only one. Pocket grip, heel. Here's a mistake you guys all make with the leg drag, okay? This is going to be annoying because it looks, like it's so much more work than it has to be, but I'm telling you, it does make a difference. And this is why I hate that mindless drilling that so many people spend their lives doing, like stuff like this right here. And to be doing this for an hour, you're not really learning a thing. What's going to lift his leg is my right hand with the help of the left. Because if I go my right hand versus his right leg, it's a 50-50 fight, especially if he hides the leg. So I cup the heel. Why do I cup the heel? So if he tries to hide that foot behind my butt, I pick it up. So now I got both arms versus his leg, and I prevent him from hooking the back of my leg, so when I can't leg drag anymore. But if I do this, what Max is going to do is he's going to shoulder shrimp, make his leg very heavy, and his foot goes back to where it was. So the fact that I pick up the leg means nothing now. So what I got to do is as I pick up, I have to crowd him. Now what I try to do when I do this is I try to get my hips ahead of my feet. So I imagine a race between my hips and my feet. Now I exaggerate this, and doesn't matter how many times I say this, when you guys do this, you guys don't want to do that right there with your arm. Your arms are not that strong. Don't trust them. Trust your hips. Now there's no room. When Max tries to shoulder shrimp, I stay on him until I'm ready to execute the leg drag. What I do is I crowd his hips, and I don't give you any room to recover. I'll do it one more time. So point the leg out, control this leg, hip, 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 and shoulder roll. I'm going to change the camera angle here because I want you guys focusing on my upper body workout. This is very important. So down there, everything's the same. Hip, hip. Now look at my right shoulder. It comes forward so I can stiff arm and punch the leg. I got a lot of control over Max's hip here now. You guys can't see it, but what I'm doing is I'm punching his leg back, right? By rolling my shoulder forward, I position my arm in a way where I can stiff arm his leg so he can't recover. Pick up, hip, hip. Might have to take a couple steps forward. Roll my shoulder forward, punch the leg, and now I'm tight on the leg drag. As you guys can see, I'm very, very close. That does make a difference, okay, guys? So that's one option from the Dilek Eva is transitioning to a leg drag. Go back. A faster option, right, in case I can't get the other leg, just put your head over here so you can see my foot, is peeling this leg. So let's say he's done a good job here. I got to get rid of this hook. There are two different ways of getting rid of this hook. I can push, which is fast, but I have no control over his stance. If he kicks or pummels, he's going to get rid of my hand. But this is fast. It does the job. The other way, which I prefer, is a little more work, but I have control. I'm going to go pocket grip on the inside of the leg, and I'm going to punch with my knuckles. I roll my knuckles on the inside of his shin. Somewhat painful. He's not really liking that. When I do that, I get to peel the leg every time. Get tight on that leg, Max. You see how I peel it? All right. The other thing I do is I'll straighten my leg when I do that. Just by straightening my leg without, a lot of times by straightening the leg, the Dilek Eva hook is less functional. So when I straighten it, I peel at the same time. I go stiff arm. Get tight there, Max. Look at that. And once I peel that, I'm no longer Dilek Eva. Advice, step out. As soon as you break that grip, you want to step out. Because if you keep your leg in there, guess what he's going to do? He's going to do it again. And you're going to have to win that fight again just to be in the same place. What the difference is now he knows what I'm doing. So chances are he's going to do what? He's going to be able to adapt, right? He might change game plan. So once you got him beat once, you don't want to have to beat him a second time, okay? It's very important to remember. I'll do it one more time. So he's in here. I'll give you another hint. You see my upper body here? This is my
my center of gravity, right? If I'm too far forward, I'm off balance. I have to stay further back. When I go further back, I straighten my leg. It's harder for him to follow me. And then I can reach with a pant down here. So if he's trying to, I can hand fight him with one hand, and I get this guy. Once I peel, I don't care if he grabs my collar now. He can grab my collar all day because now I have all the options in the world to pass. You notice my right knee doesn't go in front of my arm. It goes behind. Because if I go in front and I have to sprawl, I'm going to have to let go to break that grip. When I go here, I shut off his Dilek Eva completely, and then I can begin to pass. So to answer your question, this is my favorite Dilek Eva pass. I'll do it one more time. Right here. Break the grip, stay far, right? Stiff leg, almost like a flying side kick. And I go stiff arm with my right hand. When I come forward, I peel that leg. My right knee doesn't go in front of my arm. I can't sprawl on my own arm. I have to open it up. And then I can start moving to that over-under pass. My left arm goes underneath his right leg, and I sprawl on his legs to go around his legs. It's a very strong pass, very efficient. It's whenever people ask me, how do you stop a berimbolo? That's always my answer, by the way. That's always what I tell them. You want to make sure you sprawl on that grip. You got to make sure that your knee is pointed out, that you're punching the shin with that pocket grip, so you're peeling that Dilek Eva hook, right? And then you're able to sprawl on it because you're opening your knee behind your arm, right? I've shown this before in seminars, so some of you guys have been in my seminars, because this is a question that comes up a lot of how do you stop a Dilek Eva berimbolo? That's my favorite option. It's never failed me. I don't think I've ever been berimbolo now that I think about it. That's all I do. I just straighten my leg, open my knee, keep punching that leg. It can't really get tight. You know, it depends on the skill level of your opponent for sure. But it's an easy way to stop the Dilek Eva and put myself in a good position. Okay? All right. Thank you. How do you feel about visiting other gyms? So you try to diversify training partners by accessing different places in your area. It's a very good question, Lisa. I used to think that, unless I have like 30 people to train with, I'm not going to be good at jiu-jitsu. And I think it's important to be exposed to certain games. So for example, if everyone in your gym does closed guard, right, but no one does half guard, if you find an opponent who plays a half guard well, chances are you're going to be a little lost. You're not going to know what to do. You're going to be a split second behind. And that's going to be detrimental to your performance, right? Because you're going to not know what to do. On the other hand, if everyone in your gym does closed guard, what's going to happen is you're going to be very, very skilled at that particular the defense and offense. It's going to be high level in that particular game. So to answer your question is, if you have the variety of training partners in the gym, I would rather train with the same people over and over for a number of reasons. I can trust them. I know they're not going to hurt me. And those stalemates that everyone always talks about, I actually think they're positive. Actually, I used to think they're really bad. Stalemates prevent you from learning. I love those stalemates because those stalemates are groundbreaking moments, like they're turning points in your game, right? So, for example, if I'm passing Max's guard and he develops a very good half guard and I can't pass, right? But if I stay in his half guard long enough, not only do I learn all the defense, but I'm going to learn ways of getting around that eventually. If you keep pushing through it and like trying new things and you're aggressive about it, and you're creative about it, and you got an open mind, and you don't have a quitting mentality, eventually you're going to be able to pass that half guard. And you're going to raise the bar at that particular game so high that you never again are you going to feel threatened by a half guard. I know this because when I was blue belt, purple belt, my main training partner in Brazil was a guy called Arlindo Neto. He has the best lasso guard I've ever seen till this day. Like when he gripped your sleeve, it'd be over. Like you couldn't pass. Like it was done. Such strong hands, it got me used to defeating the lasso before it actually got established, and it made me very aware of what to do and what not to do when you're stuck in the lasso. As a result, I very rarely get swept there because I'm so familiar with that game. It's because I train with the same guy over and over and over. So, I mean, you can get good no matter what. Like I think that the common denominator between that all champions have, the common thread, has nothing to do with like who they train with or how they train, but how they perceive training, how they look at things, right? They have a white belt mentality. They're always willing to learn. If they lose, they blame themselves, right? Most people do the opposite. They lose, they blame everyone but themselves, right? There's zero accountability. These are the people that don't do well, but the champions, they have that mindset. And then I've seen champions win, training with, alone sometimes. Like Fabricio Verdun won a world championship in every belt, and he was training in Madrid, Spain, by him. Like, who's in Spain, especially for a heavyweight like him,
And this was like 15, 20 years ago. So you imagine how was he doing it then, right? And he was pulling it off, right? He'd come to Brazil and beat everyone. Like, figure that out. So, but I think a lot of it has to do with the mindset. I think that's what people err a lot, is that they think that the world, their environment is going to make them a champion, is going to make them good at jiu-jitsu. And I think the environment helps, but that's a supplement. I think that the key component is how you look at yourself and how you train and how much visualizing you do and how much you correct yourself and, you know, how much you practice different moves and you're willing to be creative and try new things. And it's more your approach to the gym more than anything else, right? You can challenge yourself with just about anyone. You just got to be smart about it and disciplined. Okay, some people show.
Right at north-south.
And I'm right here still. Since so many people show up the last Las Vegas competitions versus 5 competitors show up for a Pan Am competition in New York City. Yeah, I think so, man. Vegas is definitely a much better place for competition. You know, Masters Worlds, you're guaranteed to have like 4 fights. I'll be surprised if you have like 3, you know. Who's better at North-South, you or Marcelo or Munson? You know, I don't have the build for it. For my build, I got a pretty decent North-South because the North-South is one of those moves. You want to have a huge chest, short, thick arms. So like Munson obviously comes to mind. Marcelo, he's not have a huge chest, but you got to remember his arms are pretty short, which actually, you know, in like a lot of ways helps him. And so when he gets on that North-South, the noose is very tiny, whereas I tend to have a longer noose because my arms are longer, right? What's funny is like my North-South got better as I got heavier. When I was leaner, it was like a little bit hard to get. Like I think weight, the size of your chest plays a role that could just help suffocate. But like, yeah, like size does play a role in these things, guys. You just got to learn how to turn it to your own, you know, make your body work to your advantage. All right. Question from Manuel Pariente. Hi, what are your thoughts about being in one team, moving to another city, and begin to train another team, but not wanting to leave the first team without being disrespectful to the gym you're currently in? It's a very good question, Manuel. Like, I don't think there's a way around that. You just have to embrace the new team. And I understand that we have loyalty and ties to the original gym, but if you're training consistently at a new place, you have to, like, you know, change the patch on your gi and do everything else according. That's pretty standard. You know, even my students, they go somewhere else, and like I tell them, no, man, you just embrace that new flag, and that's okay. I appreciate the loyalty, but you know, you have to, you know, just, you know, be respectful to the place you're in at the moment. And, you know, it's something that you can always have those people in your heart as friends, and you can keep the memories, and you can go visit your original gym. But if you're training someone, you have to embrace them 100%. Okay, that'd be the right thing to do. All right, all right. What happens if someone gets you in that? I need to know what you're talking about, Mariana. I can't answer that. What happens if someone gets you in that? I'm not sure. We're talking about the same thing. All right. I've watched and learned from each. You pull the person's head off from each backward, then locking the neck. How did you learn that? Were you taught, or did you learn from trial and error? The North-South he's talking about, guys. So how did I learn the North-South, and what's the correct way to finish it? Very good question, Dean. I learned it trial and error. Most of what I know, most of what people know is trial and error, right? Like it's not as easy like, oh, I'm going to learn from just like, you know, you get ideas by watching, but I can show you guys, but you're not going to get good in North-South unless you actually throw yourself out there. I'm going to give you all the details I have right now, and you're going to try the next time, and chances are you're going to fail. And that's fine. You got to fail, but the failure should not be met with disencouragement. It should be like, okay, -1 way to do it wrong. And then you do it wrong again, -2 ways of doing it wrong. This is what I call a negative lesson. Negative lesson is you learn how not to do it. It's a very important lesson. I'm going to take my jacket off. Max, do the same. Just it's easier to show if it's no gi than it is gi. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys my favorite ways, the details that I use to finish a North-South. I do use a North-South in the gi, but it's a lot harder. The gi kind of works like an armor for the neck. It kind of helps them shrug. The collar gets in the way. It gives them small little breathing spaces. So just being in no-gi, it makes the fit a lot better. So the first thing, when I go in North-South, the first thing I do is I never slide my arm in. Every time I slide my arm in, so imagine this is his neck. When I slide, I always leave a little triangle there. See how you can see my pants through that little space right there? There's always a little space open. So instead of sliding my arm in, what I try to do is I'll move the head into my elbow, and then I'll bite. So I never do this. I do this right here. I'll lift the neck, and I'll bite.
So when I put my weight down, what happens is, look at my left elbow. When I fall down, like there's no room whatsoever. I'm not even connecting my hands, right? That was zero squeeze. Max will probably tell you. I'm not squeezing. It's just weight distribution. I'm just like letting my weight sink into his neck. You have to start looking at your arm as a noose. The noose has to be tight to non-existent. Like it's got to be like so close to his neck, there's no room for blood flow. The mistake that people make here is that they have all these gaps everywhere, and then they try to close the gaps by squeezing. You can only squeeze so much before you start burning muscle. So I'll show the same thing on the other side. I'll push the neck with my thumb like that, and I'll bite. Look at my left arm. It bites. It doesn't slide. It bites, and I try to get my right nipple on the ground. I get really close to the ground, like melts. Look at my hands, aren't even connected. Okay? Effortless. And the trick is really to take all space away from your opponent. The two spaces that you got to pay attention to, the inside of the elbow and underneath the armpit. Those are the two main spaces because like those are the angles, right? So it leaves like a little space for blood flow. So if this were the joint and this were the neck, between like right here, there's always a little blood flow right there. So I always go like that. So I move the neck into the arm and then I bite. And then what that does is it limits the blood flow. And then from then onwards, don't squeeze. When you fight, you can squeeze if you want. Squeezing as a bonus. Try to distribute your weight. I think about melting into the ground when I do this with a slight little lean on the shoulder. So I let my weight sink and a slight little, almost like a plank on my left shoulder. If I'm choking him with the left arm, like a little tiny little plank. It's very subtle. Don't overdo it because sometimes your weight goes overboard. It's off. It's got to go down. That's the other thing. I don't want to push the weight sideways. I want to make sure I'm pushing the weight straight down. Okay? All right. All right. Next question. What's up, Luke? All right. AJ Tim. I know this is a broad question, but when you are typically the smallest person division, say ultra, and you are on the low end, what is the number one thing you feel is important to beat larger opponent? Number one, cut weight. If you're the smallest person in the weight class, you got to cut weight, man. Like, that's the best answer I can give you. And I mean it. I'm not even joking because you have to. But if you can't, for whatever reason, maybe you're the smallest, but you're still like 20 pounds too heavy, above like the other weight class. So you just got to deal with it. But against heavyweights, there are a few things that will work really well and a few things that are not likely to work unless you're exceptionally good at certain things, right? So one of them is if you end up on bottom, deep half guard. You're an ultra heavyweight. Forget open guard. You're not Mike Musumeci. Don't try to be. Don't waste your energy. For an ultra heavyweight to be Mike Musumeci, you have to lose at least 100 pounds. I'm not even exaggerating. Your legs better be skinny. Your waist better be narrow. Your butt better be light. You got a big butt, big legs, big hips. Don't bother. Okay. Deep half guard is the one that's going to work best for you. I wouldn't do open guard, but actually, you actually be functional there without needing to be mobile and flexible. But to answer your question, winning strategies for heavyweights, I'll show you something very simple. It works I teach it all to kids too, because kids tend to fight like ultra heavyweights. A lot of times they lack the finesse, so they tend to be more like grab the head, get on top. If they get mount, the other kid can't escape to save his life, especially beginner kids, right? But it works really well for ultra heavyweights. But it works at a high level. You've seen it at ADCC. You've seen the strategy everywhere. But come here, Max. So if I'm wrestling with Max, right, gi or no gi, they'll always the same idea. What I don't want to do is, if I'm carrying my own weight the whole time, it's an even fight, right? I carry my weight, he carries his. I like to always be like doing this on the head, like always hanging. And when Max gets frustrated, he pushes me away. Like he muscles his way, pushes me away. Okay, I go back into it. And I'll hang with both heads. I'll lock my forearms in front of his trap so he can't take a shot. I mean, he could, but it's hard. In the heavyweight division, ultra heavyweight division, it's risky to take shots. So I keep hanging on the head, kind of like a tight clinch, almost like an incorrect tight clinch. Because the correct tight clinch, you press the body down, not necessarily the top of the head. But this, what I'm suggesting is I'm actually trying to pull his head to the floor. And that gets annoying, right? Heavyweights, they do this right here for 2-3 minutes. They start gassing. If you watched the last ADCC, you saw Orlando Sanchez? Orlando Sanchez and that kid from New York, Nick. Yeah, and he did the whole fight. He did it brilliantly. Because if you keep doing this right here to Orlando, he's going to gas out. And it was the first guy that out-wrestled Orlando intelligently, in my opinion. He's been out-wrestled before, but he did it strategically, right? So if I keep hanging, Max is going to get tired. When Max gets tired, what happens to his posture? He starts going up because he doesn't want to do this anymore because this is too heavy now. And he doesn't want me hanging on the head. They start doing this. Now guess who can take a shot? If my posture changes and I'm standing upright, Max's shot is going to come in a lot easier. I'll give you another one. A lot of times when I'm doing this, you have to have the confidence and trust in your sprawl. So if you're not confident in your sprawl, I wouldn't do this. You have to trust that you're not going to get taken down. I'd pull him into a bad shot, right? I'd pull him into that single, into that double. You'd be surprised, especially in the beginner divisions. It's the only takedown they know a lot of times is a double or a single. So what do? I saw it in the UFC. I can do it. It's in their mind, so they go for it. Horrible shot. They'll take it. Trust your sprawl. Because if I can lure Max into a bad shot, I can sprawl on him. And if I can sprawl on him, I can go to his back. If the referee, I'm talking IBJJF rules, if the referee interprets a snap, right, me initiating the snap, forcing him into a bad shot, and then me circling the turtle position, that's 2 points. Now, if Max initiates the shot, I sprawl and go to his back, 0. But if the referee interprets that I initiated the motion of forcing Max into a bad shot, I can get to his back, I scored 2 points, get into that turtle position, it's the end of the fight. If you know how to manage it, it should be the end of the fight. Okay, that's a very simple, easy winning strategy for ultra heavyweights. Okay, all right. Next one. All right, Luke, would love to see some passes from when your opponent has a deep lasso and is just sitting there waiting to sweep. Very good question, Luke. I actually get this one like almost every seminar. People ask me this question, like how to deal with the lasso. So we'll start from the beginning. Everyone's least favorite answer. What's the best solution to a problem? Don't have to type it already. You guys know it already. Don't have the problem, right? So if I know Max has a good lasso, much of my energy should go where? Not letting him get the lasso. I avoid it at all costs. I know it's his game. You got to try not to fight him on his battlefield. You go to war, you don't let the enemy choose a terrain, right? You want to fight him in your comfort zone, not his. Same idea here. I just switch sides because this is my better lasso side. So if I made the mistake of, it's easy. I just got to make sure he doesn't get it, right? I have to like fight him in ways I'm not giving him what he wants. I'm assuming I've made a mistake. Got the sleeve, you got the lasso. The first thing I got to do here, see my right hand, is I always got to roll it to the outside. The second my right, he's still holding my sleeve. Max's left hand is still holding my right sleeve. I'm completely safe here. But Rob, can I pass to my left here? Okay, can I pass to my left here? Absolutely. If my hand on the outside, I can pass here, no problem. There's no sweep. My right hand's on the outside. My right hand's on the inside. There's a lot of risk of sweeping, yes. And now I remember Luke lost the Masters Worlds from this sweep. I remember now. Because it was an even fight. I remember with Victor Doria. It was an even fight. And I didn't want to tell you to pass. I didn't want to tell you to stay. Honestly didn't know what to tell you. I remember that fight well. Because it was one of those situations where if it's even, man, you're from Canada, you're a judoka, you're not going to win against the Brazilians. Man. You got to win-win. If it's a draw, I don't think they're biased, but they don't like that style. They don't like that style. So the draws always go against you. And I've been following your career forever. If you draw, you're not going to win. But if you pass, there was a lot of risk to it, right? There's a lot of risk to passing in that situation. You took the risk, which was probably the right thing to do given the record of you never winning decisions. But what you could have done preemptively is when I'm stuck here and and I roll my hand out. One more time. And I roll my hand out. And then I'm going to move to my left. Okay? My hand's completely safe. Sometimes they have such a strong latch on my hand that I can't get it out. Turn here. So I can't get my hand out. He's got a really strong latch. My favorite technique here is I'm going to get my right hand behind my right knee. So I'm going to move my right knee in there. You guys see it? And I'm going to use my right knee to push my hand out. And then I roll my hand out. What I'm doing is I'm digging my kneecap into his fingers. It's very painful. So if I'm in here, all right, I use my knee behind my hand, and I push my hand out. And if he's not breaking, I'm going to start digging my knee into his fingers, and then I yank my arm back. That does the job. Once I break that lasso, be very aware of where you place your hands. You're from your judoka. You know this. You don't give them what they want. Let your opponent get the grip what they want, e-pulling right away. So you got to make sure you're very active while grip fighting. Lasso is like almost like a given against anyone who plays open guard. I would switch stances. I'd be aware of not only where I want to grip, but what you're gripping. I think it's a matter of coordination. We all need to learn how to develop of getting what you want without letting him get what he wants. So it's both offense and defense. And it's difficult to focus on both because our tendency, right, it's coordination, is focusing on one or the other. Like it's when you're in the 50-50, what do? Do you focus on attacking the legs or do you focus on defending the legs? Well, the good grappler has a coordination to defend and attack at the same time, right? So he's able to do two things. I always make the analogy of driving a stick shift for the first time, right? The first time, like, well, you know, the clutch and the shifting the gears, it can be very complicated because it's a matter of, you know, developing the coordination to work different things at the same time. It's the same thing when you're a passing guard. Like, be aware of his grips while I'm aware of where I want my hands to be, okay? Guys, we got a lot of questions here. I'm going to do one more question, okay? We're going to try to limit these. We're going to do them daily. We're going to limit them for 30 minutes every day. I will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to continue. So some of you guys did not get to ask any questions. Make sure you hold on to those questions. We will answer them tomorrow, okay? But I'm going by the order here. We know we're ready to start full time. Let me just go back. A lot of questions, guys. I'm sorry I can't answer everyone. What is your favorite choke in no-gi? Nicholas Kenrick. Okay, and that's the last question today, okay? We're going to stop at Eric Munn here. We're not going to get to his question, but we will get to it tomorrow. All right, my favorite choke in no-gi. It's my favorite choke of all time. Basic as it is, works gi, no-gi, MMA, self-defense, rear naked choke. Which always remits me to that discussion between old and new. This is what that discussion that me is fascinating, right? You have, you know, like old school guys are going, old school rear naked choke and arm bars, and the new school guys, berimbolos and lapel. And to me, it's a discussion like, which one's better, the car or the steering wheel, the wheel or the tire? You can't separate them. You know, it's an idiotic discussion because, you know, much of what is called advanced is fundamented in very basic principles that we would call fundamentals. People who are doing advanced are constantly using fundamentals. And, you know, what is called basic is later called advanced once you find out better ways of doing it, right? So a lot of times, like, these things are all married. You can't really separate jiu-jitsu into old and new. There's really no such thing. But rear naked choke to me is proof of that. Like, look at how many different ways we have of getting to the back now, right? But we still remit to the rear naked choke, which is the way of finishing the back. The best way. No one's ever found a more common choke, right? In MMA and no-gi especially. In the gi, it tends to be bow and arrow more, right? Because it's a little bit easier to defend the neck in the gi. There's a little more going on. But the bow and arrow tends to be the best, number one choke in the gi. But a lot of times rear naked. But no-gi and MMA, it's always a rear naked. So what does that say about the back attack? What does that say about the back take? Now, are there new ways of getting to the back? Lots of them. You know, are they valid? Yes, absolutely. Anything that works is valid. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get going. I had a lot of fun. We're gonna be doing this daily for as long as this lockdown lasts. Monday through Thursday. We're not doing Fridays. Okay, we're gonna be building up this channel. I will be posting more videos. So I'm asking everyone to subscribe, and you receive like the updates of when we're going live. And so tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time, I'd love to share some more knowledge with you guys. Like I said, the Q&A is anything from weight cut to mindset to technique, anything you're struggling with. You know, I'm here. You guys can pick my brain as much as you guys like. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is our first YouTube live. I hope you guys had fun. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay? Ciao.